We'd like to welcome everybody on out to another At the Peak episode with Joe and Megan Hobbs for the Apex Show and Sell. Super excited to have them out. They exhibited our Champion Ram last year at the Apex and the Champion U and Ram the year before. So they're a great consignor and we're happy to have them. So without any further ado, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Just swell. Hoping for the sun to come out to melt the snow just another 2 to 3 inches before you guys show up on Thursday.
That'd be great.
So there are piles of it, if you're wondering. We've had piles and piles of snow, and they've actually hauled dump trucks worth of snow from Logan Central to wherever. I don't know where they're taking this snow for it to melt, but they've been hauling it out to try and prevent some flooding. So it's crazy. So anyway, we're here to hear your guys' story. So let's start. How did Hobbs Show Lambs, what was your guys' initial exposure in the livestock world?
Yeah, so actually both of our fathers were ag teachers. So I got to go to county fairs at a young age and participate in livestock judging and was pretty hooked from, 3, 4, 5 years old with livestock in some form or another. And that was a good start, kind of gives you some exposure to a number of different species. I originally wanted to show cattle. I'd asked my parents for a couple of show steers. And keep in mind, this is 1984, and we're in southeast Minnesota. So the show steers were actually Holsteins. But I was really fired up about the opportunity to show some dairy steers. They decided that might be a little bit more than I should take on. So they bought 2 sheep, and I've pretty much owned sheep ever since.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, so I was, like Joe said, my dad was a high school ag teacher. So born into just production type agriculture. And we actually started with Dorsets. So I was more of a registered breeding sheep. Let's hand fit the animals in the beginning. And that's how we got introduced, my sister and I. And my dad still raises sheep today. So it's kind of fun still staying involved in something that I've grown up with my entire life.
Awesome. So Joe, tell me about those first 2 sheep. Where did you guys get them and how did that first year go?
Right. It was, we got them from another ag teacher friend of my dad's, and they were just commercial blackface sheep. Spot and Goofy, I believe, were their names. And it went fine. We fed them, they gained, no major problems. Went to the county fair, stood middle of the class. And then, you learn pretty quickly that there are things or ways that you can impact your success, right? It never really did get any real high-end sheep when I showed, but every year there were a number of things that I'd try and do better in order to place better, show better, feed better. And that's kind of where it all kicked off for me anyway. Got it.
And Megan, you guys raised Dorsets.
We did, yeah. So we got them from Jeff Hunter. So Jeff Hunter actually owns Hunter Nutrition. Several in the sheep industry probably know him. Really good feed. So they were more production style Dorsets in the beginning. And then as we proceeded to get into our 4-H careers, got a little bit more serious.
Got it. So when you guys were showing, were you winning state fairs? Were you winning the county fair? Talk to me about what it looked like. Because I'll tell you my story, right? Because I won the county fair once, got hooked, never won it again after that, right? Now, my little sister, she's won the county fair multiple times. So I'm interested to see everybody's story as they grew up in this.
Right. Similar experience for me. I don't think I ever had the champion reserve at our county fair. I had a couple division winners at our state fair with some, lighter weight sheep or what have you. But my younger brother, all 3 of us showed, but my youngest brother, by the time he was showing, I could afford to buy him some better weathers and had learned, a little bit, made a small network of friends that knew something about feeding and exercising and showing sheep. So it started to get a little more, we were competitive before, or at least I was, but at least at this point, we could compete with some of the better sheep in Minnesota.
And for you, Megan?
Yeah. Well, I'm the competitive one of the group. And we used to win so many trophies at the county fair, my mom would get embarrassed. Because we kind of just clean house in the sheep show. And then we made a lot of people mad. And then one year I recruited my friend on the basketball team to show. And so we took Grandin Reserve, and I'll never forget that. They were really mad then. And then, we were the smallest county in the state of Indiana, not competitive at all. But we thought it was a big deal. And then when it came to the state fair, it's actually a pretty cool story, I think, because I started showing natural colors before natural colors were popular. And in Indiana, they have every breed underneath the sun for market lambs. And they all paid the same as like $2,000 to win your breed. So everybody would try to have an off breed versus going after the blacks. And so the Natural Color Wool Growers Association introduced the Natural Color Market Lamb division. And they had all these breed rules. And one of the rules was you had to leave a 4x4 patch of wool on the non-show side shoulder so you could prove that it was a natural color. And so I had champion natural color the first year. The second year, we actually bought the sheep at a sale barn. And he had a crooked front leg, and had champion natural color again. So that was kind of fun. And that was really the only success that I had at the state level. And then I had the opportunity to show the Supreme U at the Arizona National back. I was in high school, probably like my junior year of high school with the purebred Dorset.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can see where you guys get your drive from. So those are always great stories. So tell me, you're introduced to the sheep at young ages. When is Hobbs Show Lambs born?
Oh, shortly after graduating college, I started to collect some ewes, and was working full time, doing the sheep on the side to whatever extent I could, trying to market a few here and there, and largely help some local kids. When I met Megan, had a small flock of ewes, and now someone else that was passionate about the show sheep industry, and also was doing already at that point quite well in her career and could afford some pretty nice ewe lambs. So the flock just started to grow from there. She'd find one, or we'd buy one together, or whatever, and they ended up, in my flock at that point, which shortly thereafter became ours, and it's just been growing, in terms of size for sure, and we think quality since. So it's really been quite a fun journey.
Absolutely. So tell us about these ewes that you're initially buying. Where are you getting these first ewes from that you're buying for your herd?
Yeah, I started with a few ewe lambs from some of my friends, like Zach and Phil Bott from Iowa. I got a real nice small group of ewes there, and really the group that kicked things off, I thought, was I bought 15 ewe lambs from Donnie Bagolka, like in 2006, I think. And we still have, there's at least 2 or 3 of those ewes represented in ewe families in our flock today. And then when Megan and I, started to join forces, we bought a number of real nice ewes from a lot of different places, really.
Yeah, I think it's like the view of both sides, a little bit of spending a lot of money and not spending much money. And so we bought a ewe that we called Google and Allie from John Nicewander, and we paid $500 a piece for them. And they end up reserve and 3rd overall at the Oklahoma Youth Expo. We had some good friend Jake Dooley and one of his families showed them. And then we bought a ewe that we thought broke our bank for $5,000 from Donnie Bagolka at at the Midwest Stud Ram sale, he used to always bring in these cute little Aprils, and everybody went crazy over them. And we bought one of those, and we called her Bryn, and she was champion Hamp at the Oklahoma Youth Expo. And I would say that that was kind of our start of trying to buy really good ewes, get them in good hands to try to win and be competitive to what would then later become future donors in our flock.
Yeah. The Niswonger herd comes up quite a bit in these discussions we have.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty influential females that have come from their property. Sure. So, okay. Walk us through the bucks that have most influenced your program.
Early on, we had a Cabinus buck that we called Heist. That was a little bit ahead of his time, probably in terms of like Hamp feature and just bone size, foot size, and density. Pretty good built sheep. Now, those early Hamps didn't have the same muscle shape or skin quality with the structure that they do today, but a lot of those daughters, I mean, really still in some of our donors, we have, maybe Heist is a grandfather of a number of those donors still. And then the one that, a little more recently would have made a world of difference for us was Road Rage. You can't hardly go through a used pedigree here unless it's one that we've purchased recently that doesn't have Road Rage, either a daughter or granddaughter. Kept a number of bucks. We've never actually landed on a Road Rage son that hit a big lick for us, but lots of the bucks that we've been retaining have been out of Road Rage daughters, and those have worked really well. And then on top of that, the next move was we bought Rank from Dwayne Hurleman, and to go along with sort of the muscle and the width and the touch coming from Shower Chicken and the shape and look of the Middlesworth sheep through Road Rage. Rank had, sort of that Hurleman traditional look, right? The arrogant head carriage and tall fronted, neat shoulder kind of look, as well as a neat rib turn, shallow rib cage, big body shape, and a really nice back squareness and dimension. So. And then Rank and Road Rage at one point, we don't pay just a whole bunch of attention to how things are lined up, if you will, or line bred. But at one point I realized that we were using Lobo, who was a Rank Road Rage, across all kinds of Rank Road Rage daughters, right? And so those two bucks have created a really nice foundation for the ewe flock.
Absolutely. Megan, you had a little bit of a smile while talking about some of those bucks.
Road Rage was well before his time, I think. He's FF, probably one of the most muscular FF bucks out there yet still today. And people continue to use him, even though, he's not at a point where he can probably breed naturally anymore, but we do have a bunch of semen put up, and our partners got along really well. They came back in and used Road Rage and were very successful in their sales. And we continue to see a lot of people, and we get a lot of people ask now, like, when you want FF, like, we know what he's going to do. They're going to be hampy, they're going to be muscular, they still have that look. So it's kind of cool that it's coming back,
Yeah.
Like, we had all these daughters, and now he's coming back, and people are still asking about him.
Absolutely. So tell us a story about finding. Did you buy Road Rage or did you raise them? I can't remember on that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So that year we bought 3 bucks actually, on that same trip that we went on. And it was freezing cold. We met Dave Wolf in Iowa or in Nebraska at a gas station. His wife one of his kids drove him over. And so we went on this buck journey, and we went everywhere and started looking, and we had partnered with Dave on a buck at Brian Fairley's, and then we continued looking through the state of Iowa. We found a buck that we liked at Heinman's that we knew we wanted to buy, and then we found the Middlesworth buck on that same trip, and so we're literally going across Iowa, leaving Jaylene and Perry's there, and we're like, all right, Dave, do you want in on the Middlesworth buck, or you went in on this Hyman buck that we like together? And Dave's like, well, I really want the Hyman buck. And so we're like, oh gosh, what are we going to do? Like, we also want Road Rage. And so we had been friends with Mark and Ryan Hasbrook, and so we called them. We knew that they had been there, and they also landed on Road Rage at that time as their favorite. And so we're like, okay, you guys want to partner? And so we partnered up. In hindsight, what did it cost? 18?
Oh, not even that. 15.
Yeah, $15,000. I don't know. It was what at that time it seemed expensive, and now it seems cheap, right? If a buck costs that much, and so it's been really good. But all three of those bucks, Ironhide, Chuckle, and Road Rage, and then the way that he got his name is I definitely have Road Rage whenever I drive. And we were on this long road trip trying to find a buck that we wanted to land on, so. That's how we landed on that. But we've had really good partners, and both of them on that trip, Dave and Mark and Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a cool story. So with Road Rage, what kind of made him stand out to you guys?
Well, truthfully, like Megan said, we bought three in that, 24 or 40 hours worth of time. And the thing that initially separated Road Rage was when we went to mate the ewes and had lambs the next year, we knew we were dealing with this dwarf gene, right? Find it in a lot of the ewe families. A couple of bucks that we'd retained the previous years, would throw a few of them here and there. And when we bred those 3 bucks, Road Rage was the only one that we didn't get dwarf sheep out of, right? So without the gene testing or any of it, like we landed on one that we didn't think we would get any more of those little midget sheep out of. So that was kind of the initial separation for him amongst the 3. We got nice ones out of all 3 of the bucks, but he in the following years saw a lot more sheep, not only because he was ultimately FF, but we really liked the way those sheep were made. We had really, some of the first state fair, real competitive sheep, at a high level. I had a sheep win a division at Kansas City. Some of those champions of reserves at some state fairs and class winners at some of the major shows were the first that we had. And so we were pretty in love with him at that point. And thankfully the daughters worked well, and we've continued to use those genetics.
Got it. Now, is he still around?
He is. He is at Mark and Ryan Hasbrook's.
Okay.
Yep, he's still going.
He's getting pretty old then, huh?
He is. Yeah.
They must be doing a good job to keep a ram alive that long. They seem to struggle to do that out here in Utah.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, so tell me, folks are going to be coming from, all over the place to pick out projects for county fairs and state fairs at the Apex. And you're also going to have some breeders there showing up to buy some of their next breeding pieces. What are your guys' most important when you're sorting an animal? What do you consider to be the most important priorities as you're looking through and looking at what are going to be some pretty young sheep too, right? So.
Yeah, I think, I'll certainly let Megan chime in, but both of us like heavy muscled sheep, sheep with some width and some genuine shape. And then along with that, it's still a show ring. So they have to have a unique look. Their skeletal build is, that's become a real popular term the last however many years. You want a sheep that can hold its head up high and take a long fluid stride and make the lines, real attractive from the side. So essentially it's just how stout can we make the good looking ones, or how good looking can we make the thick ones, right? And just finding sheep that, I tell people that when they're just getting started raising show sheep, if they're the kind that someone sets up from the side for you and you're impressed, right? And then you get around behind them and you touch them and you're impressed with their shape from behind also, and you almost want to go back and do a double take because that You want to make sure it's still the same really nice looking sheep on the profile. Like those are the kind we're trying to make, right? Those are the special ones that have not only a nifty look, but a lot of shape and dimension as well. And I think from a prospect standpoint, yeah, they don't necessarily need to be, super heavy conditioned or anymore. A lot of the sheep are getting real moderate in terms of their frame size. They need to have just a little bit of growth. You want them to be really attractive in terms of their neck set and shoulder shape, their top line levelness, and then have, like I said, some real genuine kind of touch and firm handle to them. Those are the ones that should feed good for the kids through the summer.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think what I would add is, most of the time people don't appreciate structure when they're in a sell rack. And so something that's big for me is just show ring appeal from the side. So their underline needs to be right. And you can't tell that if you just handle them, leave them in the sell rack. So if you really like something, you need to ask the consignor to take it off, set it up, study it from the side, watch it walk around the pen. Does it hold its head down low? Like, what does that look like? Because if they're you got to look at them all the time. If they're a buck, you want to know, are they going to be able to breed? How's their feet and legs? And then if they're weather or show you, they definitely need to look good in a big ring, not necessarily in the small ring, and just be able to handle good. You still have to have some look. So I think that's the biggest advice I have is you can like many different styles of sheep, but don't just like them based upon how they look from their back and their butt. Get them off the rack, actually look at them from the side, watch them walk around.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good advice there. And can I say that the pictures of your guys' ewe lambs that I saw today, they line up with exactly what you're describing. Those are pretty special animals there. So I'm very excited to see those ones in person.
Well, they're younger than we've ever taken to the apex. So
yeah, we did.
Hopefully they stay together on the cold ride from it's 80 degrees here in Kansas today.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that is not nice. Oh, goodness. Okay. What do you think is one of the best lessons you've learned raising livestock, or that you think kids can learn from participating in 4-H and FFA and doing these show sheep?
For me, even from an early age, I learned to be goal oriented. I would say, the right or wrong, even though it's subjective, like the results from a county fair or a particular jackpot show or the state fair meant something to me, right? And to improve upon those results each year was an easy way to sort of benchmark myself, right? And then along with it, you learn to try new things, be open to, whatever, different feeds, different exercising, a different way of showing, maybe some help from different individuals, and to be able to ask questions and find different resources. Like that was probably, when I think back to when I was very young, those were things that I learned and developed at that point. And, Megan would tell you I tend not to be the most open-minded person all of the time, but I have to reflect back and remember that's how we get better, right? She's great at pushing things forward, doing new things, challenging things. And I have to watch myself, because if you get comfortable and want to do things the same way because you've had success doing it, sooner or later the competition catches up, right? So try to be open-minded and try new things and consider other sheep and all of the different things that are a part of this game we love to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would add that never be too proud to ask if you don't know, or if you're interested, ask somebody for help. People are always willing to help you, like build a relationship with your breeder. If the breeder doesn't know, they're probably going to ask somebody too, because that's just part of the customer service. If our customers aren't successful, we're not successful. And I think, over the years, it just in my life, that's how I've got to where I am, whether it's in my career or the sheep, it's asking questions to learn and learning from others. Now, you may not always do what that person tells you or like what you hear, but at least you got a second opinion, or you got that education on something that you're trying to solve with your projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So tell me, and don't feel like you have to come up with a great story here, but I'm just looking for something where you did something one year, maybe it didn't work, you learned from it and you adjusted and moved your program forward by doing that.
Oh, I have one. Yeah. So whenever I went to Oklahoma State, I started working for Dwayne Hurleman, and worked with him. I mean, essentially became family with him. And, I'd be there during breeding season. I'd be there during lambing season. I'd be there during selling season. And so, and showing season, went around everywhere with him. And, I picked up on things, whether it was from showing or from going to sales that they did or his customer service, but something that I didn't realize that would make an impact later on us was he handmaided everything. And so when Joe and I got together, in the past, like, people just turn out cleanup bucks. Like, they were flushing a little bit. You weren't AIing stuff, so you would just turn out the bucks. And I kept telling Joe, like, hey, Dwayne hand breeds. Like, we got a hand breed. Dwayne hand breeds. Like, why aren't we doing this? He does this, like, we need to do it. And now we hand breed everything until, it gets cool. And I think that that's a way that, or actually the very last group that we breed, we will turn the buck out in a small group. But everything for our prime markets in those prime season is handmaided. We can tell when they're bred. We can see if there's problems with remarking. You have better management of those ewes. When that happens, you have better management of your bucks. There's less stress. They're only breeding 2 or 3 at a time, maybe only 1 that night or that morning. But each ewe on our house, if they come back in and they need covered by a live ram, gets covered twice in a small pen. And so that ram's not overworking himself. We can extend his longevity. But it was something that, like I said, we were reluctant, or Joe was reluctant as a shepherd to implement it. And now for the last 8-9 years, that's the way we've been doing everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's evidenced road rage is getting pretty up there in age. So it must reduce the stress on that ram. So Joe, did you have anything that came to mind?
Yeah, a couple just quick things. I remember one year when I was young, probably in junior high, I decided that more exercise, or specifically more walking down the gravel road, was better, and as much as possible would definitely be, the way I was going to improve my sheep that year. So I tracked on a calendar how many miles I was walking my sheep every day. Don't necessarily know that I was feeding appropriately to keep what I had essentially turned into marathon runner shaped sheep because of all the exercise that they had gotten. And feeding them enough to keep up with that. So I learned my lesson by, a couple weeks before the county fair, sheared them again and thought, oh gosh, maybe this is overdoing it. But I was really focused on getting to, 1 mile every day, or however far, and was tracking it, thought I was doing the right thing, and had to backtrack from there. And then I would say, just, from a breeding program standpoint, we're in a situation now where, we can buy semen from just about anywhere, and lots of rams are marketed. And you can, go look at those rams, go look at lamb crops out of them, talk to the breeders or whoever owns the buck, and get an idea in your head of the change that sheep should make, or what type of ewes you're going to breed them to. And it doesn't, a lot of the times it works really well, right? But it doesn't work really well every time. And sometimes you get things that are not exactly what you expect. Sometimes that's okay, and sometimes you wish you had some of those matings back. So that, I feel like we're going through every year, right? New crop of bucks to study. Genetics from all over the place are all of a sudden available to us. So it's, from that standpoint, a really fun time to be able to raise sheep and get creative with things.
Yeah, AI has made a whole new world for breeders, and it's incredible the pace at which you can change a herd or break a herd all, all at the same time. It's quite impressive. So, all right, what's one of your most memorable livestock shows?
The Minnesota State Fair will always be special to me. I don't make it back up there very often to watch the show, but part of the goal-oriented sort of show career that I referenced earlier was set up by that show and the way that show runs. When I was young, I really didn't care for it at all. You actually have to earn a trip to the Minnesota State Fair, which means you have to qualify at your county fair with a specific animal to get the opportunity to show there. And you can only take one animal, right? So you can't take your pig and your market lamb and your goat. You have to select one of the three. So it really meant something when you did well enough to be able to exhibit at the state fair. At the time, I thought it was kind of dumb because you were limiting participation, right? But it wasn't long into adulthood when I realized that the extent to which it made me work harder, and it meant a lot when I just got a chance to exhibit there, right? And so I always enjoyed showing there, and you enjoy those friendships, and they lasted forever. So that'd be the show for me that means the most.
It's tough for me. I'm fortunate in this relationship and with my job that I can still travel and go to a lot of the state fairs and see our customers. But I think the most memorable one is probably the San Antonio livestock show. Most people, we try to win weather shows, and that's what people target. We sell a lot of weathers, and so you always want to win those. But we've been fortunate when you look at like our winners to have been very successful in the U show there. And it started with some sheep that we sold online. And then for the last 3 years, we've had the opportunity to exhibit or for our customers to show the Supreme Champion U on the commercial U side. And I mean, the best of the best, it is a tough show. There's probably more commercial U's that show in that show than any other commercial U show out there. And I think that, it's fun too, because those kids get $10,000 if they win that U show from a scholarship standpoint. So not only is it recognition for us, like it's really memorable for those kids because, this year Shep Silvers, I don't even know how old he is, 9 years old or so, got a $10,000 scholarship. And so that's going to be there to make a difference in his career. The Sandy family that won it back-to-back there, like it made a difference in what those kids either want to do for school or what Allie did with school. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword because we believe in giving back and helping the youth. And I think what they do in Texas is pretty cool in terms of doing that. So that's from a livestock perspective of us raising them. I would say the most memorable show that I've been a part of or, have showed at or put together is what we do in Reno, Nevada each year with the show. So I think this year we have like $200,000 that we've raised from breeder sponsors, and that is giving it all back to the kids. So that's kind of fun and it's not kind of fun, it's very fun. So we show sheep during the day, we gamble at night and have fun. Where last year the kids got to go to a free concert by Brantley Gilbert. So we're doing that again this year. It's our third year. And it's just a wonderful way to give back, and you create a lot of memories for the kids.
Yeah, all the kids that I know that have participated at the show say that is the most fun that they've had at a livestock show by a long ways. So you're definitely doing something right there and creating some memorable moments for those that are participating. So I know I appreciate that as somebody who is involved in youth agriculture. I need to make it out there. I haven't done that yet.
It's a lot closer for you than it is for us.
It is. It is a lot closer. Let's see here. What's the best piece of advice you could give to someone that, and you can take it from a couple of tracks here, someone that's either going to start breeding their own or to a kid that is showing?
Yeah, to anybody that's going to start raising show sheep, or is early in their career. I mean, I would say if you're able to remain open-minded, about the genetics that you use, even the age of sheep that you are raising. If you, like with anything in life, if you're going to decide to stop learning, it's probably not going to go that well. And then along with it, what's important and what ultimately will help you find customers that are very faithful and appreciate your sheep is if you have a vision for what those sheep should look like. It just kind of boils down to, so-and-so likes the look of the sheep that we create, and they end up being, oftentimes not only just customers or loyal customers, but often really good friends. So those relationships are really special and ones that Megan and I certainly enjoy.
Yeah. We've made a lot of friends that way, I would say. They're just your friends across the U.S. You go someplace and you more than likely know somebody in that area now. For me, hard work, determination, dedication, all that's free. Money doesn't buy your wins. So it doesn't matter how much you have to spend on a project. Your neighbor can spend 10x what you spend, but if you work harder and you put in the time and the effort that you need to work your animals, whether it's from showmanship, it's from exercising, you're going to beat that person that spent 10x and does nothing. And I think that gets lost in today's environment. We run a business, so it is about financials for us because this is a business. But I think when it comes to projects, you don't have to have the most money to buy the most expensive sheep and go in. What you have to do is you have to have a dedication to be in the barn early in the morning, late at night, long hours, putting in hard work from a showmanship perspective. It's not just about feeding. You can feed all the fancy products in the world, but if you don't work them from showmanship, it doesn't mean anything. You're just wasting money. And I think that is probably forgotten at times. The kids that win a lot, they have to work a lot too. And I think we're quick to point fingers at them for being so successful, but they're successful for a reason. It's just like being a basketball player or a softball player. You're not on the national championship team because you were lazy. It's because you worked hard. And so I think people just need to be reminded of that.
Absolutely. Can I give you a soapbox? You can keep going because I like where we're going with this conversation. Yeah. So you see that a little too often these days is, they spent $10,000-$15,000 or whatever they spent, on their animal. Here in Utah, it's more like $1,000, but, and that's why they're winning. And more often than not, that's not the case. Yeah, maybe they did go out there and spend a little bit more money than the person down the road, but they're putting in the hours for sure. Mm-hmm. So, and I happen to have inside information that a ewe lamb that went and won a bunch of divisions out in the Midwest at national shows sold for $650 because she came off my farm. So it's funny. You don't have to spend a fortune to win. You just gotta, put in the time and the effort to do so. So, all right. Tell me something you guys are excited about.
Riker, I have a random. You asked our story. So the family that showed your ewe, Joe actually lived with them.
Oh, really?
They
When
were
we first met, Joe was living with them.
the Morkels are
Yeah.
pivotal in the origin story of Hobbs Show Lambs. Yeah, I had
That's
changed
good
jobs,
to know.
moved to their area, didn't find a place for the sheep or myself even for a while. And they took me in for, I don't know, I mean, the sheep were there for well over a year. I stayed with them for a number of months. And right around that same time is when Megan and I met. So yeah, Joel and Aaron have been close friends since we were in college. And yeah, great people.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And they did a fantastic job. And man, could you tell that he put in the work? Holy cow.
Yeah,
Her
those kids did a great job for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciated that. I was just feel privileged to be a part of that story, a very small part of that story for them with that little ewe lamb last year. Yeah, tell me something you guys are excited about in your program, whether it's rams or females or anything that's going on.
Sure. We kept 2 new October born fall ram lambs we're really excited about. One we actually sold part interest to through the Saturday Night Live he was the ram weather option in that sale in January in California. His name is now Off the Cuff, and we're very fortunate to own him with Steve and Angela Barton, Utah's own. We also kept a buck we call Real High, which is a How High son out of a schedule ewe that we bought at the Premier 10 2 years ago. And then the third buck lamb that we kept this year is a Chief Bullseye Road Rage. His name is Honcho, and we're very fortunate to have sold half interest in him to Frey's Show Lambs from Stephenville, Texas, West Frey's. So yeah, we're really excited about those 3 bucks. And actually, the reason we're bringing a buck, lot 23, if I can do a little shameless promotion, lot 23 that we're bringing to the Apex is actually a Chief Road Rage, and the Road Rage grandmother of Honcho is the same Road Rage mother of the buck that we're bringing, right? So basically, we're going to sell him essentially because we have another very closely bred individual, but he was one that we certainly had planned on keeping and using ourselves if it wasn't for the fact we just landed on another one that somebody wanted to buy a part of. So yeah, those are on the Ram side what's new, and we're getting ready to do a bunch of May AI and flushing here, and just exciting times all the time. Lots of opportunities to make the sheep better and work with customers to do the same in their flocks.
Awesome.
I thought you would be excited about getting in the Southdown business.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We bought a Southdown ewe this weekend with a partner.
One single Southdown?
One single Southdown with Colby Birch. Joe needed to have this ewe, so we're in the Southdown business. But for me, what I think most excited about, and I tell people we're the yin and the yang. I don't make any breeding decisions. I just tell Joe when he bred them wrong, and I don't ask him to do any marketing or handle anything that we do when we, essentially think outside the box of doing things a little bit differently. And part of that is, we can be like everybody else and do things the same, but you have to think about how do you differentiate, how do you drive change? And I think we're at a point where we do need some change in this industry, and to give people a little bit more excitement and things like that. And so we are going to host a live sale at our house. And what I've been telling people is it's a live sale like you've never seen or been to before. We have studied what Barrett Carlisle and Jared Settles are planning this with Joe and I. And so we've really studied about, like, how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we do something so unique that people haven't done that before? And so we have a group of 8 breeders that have came together. It's Memorial Day weekend on that Saturday at our house. RSG is doing a little program beforehand. We're going to have viewing the night before, and we'll broadcast it live. We'll have a special guest that's going to talk about each of the animals, and it's going to be females, elite ewe lambs, and elite buck lambs. The special guest will talk about the sheep on that Friday night, and we'll do a customer appreciation for Umbarger since we are a dealer for them. But then after the sale on Saturday, we have a live band that's been booked, and so we're going to move right into a party, essentially. So it's going to be a destination, or most of the time, like you're going through a sale, like you're sitting through 200, 500 head, you load up your animal and you leave. And if you look at, that's kind of what we've been used to, right? Or we're used to online sales, but we wanted to make it unique in terms of something that people can look forward to, since it is also a vacation weekend. But we wanted to keep it small too. It's going to be 50 head. Our lot 51, we're actually going to sell the rights to be in the sale the following year. So we like doing things a little bit differently. So I'm pretty excited about that, and just to see where I would say the future takes us in this new journey.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a really neat event that you guys are putting on there. So that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and sharing your story with us, and of course consigning to the Apex. Looking forward to having you guys back out. Remember to bring your trophy. We'll have you sign it when you get here.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
So
that thing. We can leave it here.
We'll put a Sharpie on there. You can sign it for the year 2022, and possibly you can sign it again for the year 2023. We'll see what happens, right? So excited to see the Ram. And yeah, just excited to have everybody back out. So a couple reminders. April 6th is when check-in day is for the Apex, for those consigners that are watching. April 7th is show day. The show is going to be streamed live on Show Barn Flicks and through our Facebook page as well. So you can watch the show and participate that way. Clay Elliott is our judge. He's going to do an excellent job. So I'm super excited to have Clay out to sort this set of sheep, which is shaping up to be the highest quality set of sheep we've had at the Apex so far. It's pretty outstanding what the consigners are bringing this year. So very excited about that. Sell day is April 8th. Starts at 9 a.m. Mountain Time and will be broadcast live on CCI Live. So you can do online bidding through CCI Live. SC is currently working their tails off trying to get the catalog live. It's a lot of lots to sort through. So they're doing their best to get that up and running as we speak. So very excited to have everybody out, taking a page out of Megan's book. We're trying to be unique at the Apex as well. Friday evening from 8 p.m. to midnight, we will be having a laser tag tournament for both youth and adults. The adults get to, both the youth and adults, we're giving out banners for the High Point champion and reserve laser tag folks. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. And just look forward to having everybody out this week and for getting some more rest the week after. So, okay, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everybody for joining and watching, as we had a big crowd tonight watching. So thanks everyone for joining us live, and look forward to seeing you all at the Apex. Be there or be square, because there's going to be some dang good animals available. So appreciate it. Talk to everybody later.
Thanks, Riker.
Thanks, Riker.
Thank you.